do it. Call us Washington County Board of Education meeting to order. After a brief moment of silence, we'll ask Mr. Masters to lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need to add, before we do the consideration of the meeting agenda, PO number 6643 for Brain Pop renewal.
Is that countywide?
Yes, ma'am.
Brain Pop Jr.?
You need a motion?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We need to vote on that.
Token.
Brain Pop, I know, I'll see if I can get some out. You rub that on and just read it.
You decide you can.
Brain Pop is a good video. Get interested in the lesson.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dilger. Okay, next we have,
Mr. Hammond?
oh, sorry,
Yeah, it's coming through.
Okay, there it goes. All approved.
all approved. Okay.
Thank you.
Now vote on the agenda as amended.
Vote on the agenda as amended.
So,
Make it.
go ahead.
Make that motion, please.
Second.
Token.
Hey, mine ain't working. I ain't got, there it is.
Nope, it was me.
Okay. Got it.
All approved.
All right. Now,
Yes, sir.
okay, now we have a request to address the board. That's Andrea Hooper. I'm sorry. Ma'am, I gotta read this real quick. Come ahead. I'm reading it to you, so I'm sure you've heard it before. Individuals speaking to the board shall address remarks to the chairman and may direct questions to direct questions to individual board members or staff members only upon approval of the chairman. Each person speaking shall state his or her name, address, subject of presentation. Remarks will be limited to 3 minutes unless time is extended by a majority vote of the board. The chairman shall have the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who does not adhere to the above rules or chooses abusive to be any individual board member or the board as a whole. Members of the board and the director of schools may have the privilege of asking questions to any person who addresses the board. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name's Andy Hooper. I live at 119 Smoke Rise Lane, Fall Branch, Tennessee. That was what I was supposed to say.
Got it.
I actually am wanting to speak to you about the facility study that was done. Thank you, Mr. Day and Mr. Boyd, for allowing me to come and speak today. 4 years ago, leaders from the Washington County Commission, Mayor Joe Grandy, and members of the Washington County School Board attended a meeting with many people from the community of Fall Branch. During that meeting, we were told that there was no strategic planning or thought toward closing of Fall Branch School. We were told at the time that there would be very open and frank conversations should that ever come up. Imagine our concern when we learned that this indeed is not what is actually being discussed. We understand that planning for future growth is a significant part of any business plan. We also agree that there could potentially be a need for changes within our current brick and mortar school. As all of this being said, we also expect to be part of the conversation. As is being submitted tonight, the 5 to 10 year plan shows a potential for Fall Branch School to be closed and a new school be built within 5 to 10 years. Granted, there is a 5 to 10 year lead time. However, there are some significant issues we would hope, as good stewards of the tax dollars this board has been afforded, that you would take time to review. The first one is there are communities that are currently quite a distance from Fall Branch School, which requires some children to be on a bus 45 minutes or more. Adding even what some would consider a small distance to a bus ride would make the travel time for children to an hour. Strategic budgeting and planning should include additional full-time school resource officers at every school. And just because a school is a smaller school, it should not be given less safety or half-time safety. If there was an event, God forbid, at Fall Branch School, it would take a significant amount of time for any help to be provided, so a full-time officer should be a standard. Additionally, as stated in your strategic plan that you have posted online, improvements would be made to access to school-based mental health supports, ensuring adequate staffing levels in terms of school-employed mental health professionals. That's yours, not mine. Therefore, dollars should be spent in this area ahead of any purchases of property or a plan for any new school. This community shares a purpose and ownership for school success. This community is a cornerstone, and this school is a cornerstone for this community, and the members of this community stand by our school and our teachers without fail. According to your strategic priorities, you state that you will establish and maintain processes that create shared purpose and ownership through open communication and active engagement of employees, students, families, and community members. You also state that we will foster strong partnerships with individuals, groups, and organizations that will join us in our commitment to provide all students with access to opportunities and resources that will enable them to realize, their full potential, no matter the path they seek for their future. We as community members are engaged and ready for that strong partnership and would hope that there are not backdoor conversations that cause discourse, confusion, or reason for doubt between the community and the school board. So basically, what we as a community would like for you to know is that we do not feel that a new school is in the best interest of this community, and that we have faith that you will stand behind your strategic priorities as stated in the strategic plan for Washington County Schools. A focus on student success every day, investment in your people, partner with our stakeholders, and act with responsible stewardship. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Approval of meeting minutes.
I have something to say.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank you for being an outspoken and community leader in Fall Branch. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Approval of meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Tobin, all approved.
Mr. Boyd.
Yes, sir, thank you. Just some announcements that are listed in the agenda. Just, of course, Monday was the first day of school, the abbreviated day, but off to a good start. Today was the first full day, first instructional day of the school year. You know, great start, always room for improvement. We know it takes a while for, as enrollment shifts and bus routes shift, that's an everyday improvement process. So we take the feedback, we look at any changes need to be made, and we improve each day. August 3rd, tomorrow, second instructional day of the school year, but we also have a HUE committee meeting at 1 o'clock tomorrow with the County Commission Health and Education and Welfare Committee. The 4th, schools are closed for students because it is election day, and our schools are used as voting precincts, but our teachers will be involved in in-service. And then from the approved calendar, August 8th, there's another scheduled in-service day early in August for no student attendance but teacher training and in-service. And then, as you know, the next workshop is scheduled for the 23rd of August. It'll begin at 5 p.m. in this building. And on the 29th is the County Commission meeting for August. But just want to again commend our staff for their hard work in getting the school year off to a start, and certainly the parents and the partnership it takes to get a school year off to such a good start. You know, certainly staff works hard and plans, but it's also the anticipation of our families and our students and the cooperation and partnership there that makes it work.
August 23rd on the board workshop
Yes, sir.
could we move that to the August 24th? That'd be a Wednesday.
That would be up to the chair and the board.
Okay. If there's no, it's a Wednesday, but I'd like to keep it and make the 23rd.
23rd or 24th?
I'd like to move it to the 24th.
Fourth.
Is there a problem with anybody doing that on Wednesday? I'd like to try to make as many of them volleyball games as I can, so it's on the
Sure.
23rd.
And, you know, it is a workshop, no action will be taken, but it is a public meeting.
I would like to make this one comment. I had the privilege to get to go to the opening day for the teachers, and it was awesome. I'm telling you, if you weren't excited to be a teacher that day, you missed the boat. Mr. Boyd and the team he's got here throughout the school system, it was a wonderful, wonderful event, and I was very, very excited to get to attend that, and it was great.
Well, certainly team effort, and we were able to highlight some of our students and their families, made sure that they were there so that we can involve them in the opening day. So, you know, I think the students made it great.
Very good.
Other than that, there's no more announcements. If we can, we'll move right into reports. I'd like to, there's a short presentation I have just to highlight our 2022 spring assessment data, but before I do that, I want to turn it over to principal of Boones Creek Elementary School. She has some recognition to give on behalf of Boones Creek Elementary School and Washington County Schools. Of course, Jordan is the principal of Boones Creek Elementary School. Hughes.
Hi, Jordan Hughes, principal of Boones Creek Elementary School, and I have the honor of welcoming the Johnson family here tonight. They are Boones Creek alumni, and they are very passionate about all things Boones Creek, and they have a very special presentation to our county, to our school at Boones Creek, and to you, the board. So I will now turn it over to the Johnson family.
Hello, school board, Mr. Boyd, Jennifer. Glad to be here. I'm Alec Johnson. I'm a former Boones Creek Elementary and middle school alum. I went from 95 to 2004, and I taught at Boones Creek for 4 years. I'm still currently the volleyball coach at Boones Creek, and I want to just read to you a brief history of how Boones Creek School was started. So the history of Boones Creek School: in the year of 1851, the citizens of Boones Creek and surrounding areas saw the need for a full first-class school. Around 1850, there were two small schools in the area. One was the Franklin Academy, and the other one was taught in the old Boones Creek Christian Church by Reverend James Miller. These schools were small and too poorly equipped to meet the needs of Boones Creek community at this particular time. In 1851, Lawrence Bowers gave the land on the summit of the ridge that divides the valley of Boones Creek and Carroll Creek, which is between Food City and Bark Green Drive. You know where that is. The building was completed in 1853, and the school was chartered by legislature on February 15, 1856, by A. Kitzmiller, was the first teacher, followed by J.A. Bollinger, who introduced a new method of teaching in the primary grades. After the first year, the Franklin School and the seminary were combined into one institution. During the Civil War, the school did not close entirely, but it did have several attempts to burn it, none of which were successful. Tuition for Boones Creek was $12 per session. Students could be boarded for $1.25 up to $1.50 per week. My great-grandmother and great-great-aunt were also boarded at Boones Creek in the early 1900s. The courses being taught in the early 1900s at Boones Creek were Latin, Greek, algebra, geometry, logic, morals, science, and criticism. Eventually, Boone's Creek School was moved across the street and was a high school from 1939 to 1970. In 1971, the schools consolidated and Boone's Creek High School became Boone's Creek Middle until 2019. Now my father is going to speak a little bit of our legacy at Boone's Creek.
Hello, my name is Jeff Johnson. Certainly glad to be here. I know many of you on the board, and I appreciate Principal Hughes giving us this opportunity. My family is, as Alex said, has been engulfed in Boone's Creek for a lot, generations. My mom and dad graduated from Boone's Creek in 1942, and they married soon thereafter. My mom and her 4 sisters were all educators, and 4 of them taught in Washington County school system. My mother taught typing and shorthand at Boone's Creek. Any of you all ever take shorthand? Oh, you did?
It's a long story.
Okay. My father was also a teacher. He was a principal at the elementary school, and he was also a principal at the high school. He was also on the school board for 22 years. Wait another 20 years and he'll be right there. He enjoyed being on the school board immensely. It's a demanding job, and as you know, you're probably not going to get rich being on the school board. But he took it, all the phone calls and all the hassles you go through to better the children of Washington County, just as you do every day, and we appreciate it. Myself, I'm not an alumni of Boone's Creek. My parents sent me to university school. But when I started a family, I lived in the Town Acres School District, but my boys are going to go to Boone's Creek. So, and I know that they got a good education there, and I'm certainly pleased with that. Because of our connection to Boone's Creek, we wanted to bring something from the old school and preserve it and give it to the new school. Many of you all remember when the new school was getting ready to open, that there was much discussion and what was going to be the mascot for the new school. And there was a forum that was held at the old gym at Boone's Creek. And obviously many of you were there. And there was, I guess 99% of the people there were in favor of keeping the old mascot bars. As Mr. Boyd, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this area, but
I've been made aware.
Obviously, Daniel Boone was a huge presence in this area, and Daniel Boone killed a bar. He didn't kill a bear. So that was the basis behind it, and we appreciate your decision. Alec contacted Dr. Flannery up before the old school was going to be torn down. He asked Dr. Flannery if it would be okay if he could, with our help, my son Taylor and Alec's help, if we could cut out the mascot of the bar head from the Boone's Creek gym floor. We didn't know it was going to be quite the struggle that we had. We had circular saws and crowbars and hammers. In fact, my circular saw wouldn't cut it out. Taylor had to go to Ace Hardware and get a new blade because that was the hardest wood I've ever seen in my life. But we was able to get it out. And with the help of Mr. Wayne Church, he preserved the mascot. And we'd like to present this to the board today.
Very nice.
So these are all different pieces of wood put together, and the people that framed this, they had to take a lot of layers of wax off that gym floor. So it's been polyed and framed.
It's tongue and groove wood, and we numbered it as we removed it, so that we could obviously reassemble it just as it is there. And Taylor is going to come in with a few words as well.
I'm Taylor Johnson. I just want to give a little excerpt about the legacy, my family legacy, and the legacy we'd like to provide to the new students of Boones Creek Elementary. I come from a legacy of Boones Creek families with deep roots in this community, as my father said. The Leonard family and the Carter family, to be exact. I am who I am because of those that came before me. I'm proud of my legacy, and I use any chance I can to show that pride. I love telling people I'm from Boones Creek. I work in Kingsport at Eastman Chemical, and when anybody asks me where I'm from, I don't say Johnson City, I say Boones Creek. And I'm proud of that. Whenever the decision was made to move away from the older elementary and middle schools, I was initially disappointed that we would lose a valuable piece of history from the Boones Creek community. So when my brother asked me to help with this project, I was all in. This symbol will serve as a lasting memory of all those that walked the halls before and those that built a strong foundation for a community that continues to flourish today. I hope that this legacy symbol will bridge the gap between the bars of the past and the bars of the future. Thank you.
And we planned that, Jordan and I found the spot of this plaque. Jordan and I found the spot in the front of the school that we would like to hang it. And we have a plaque. On the plaque it says, "The Boones Creek Bar is the mascot of Boones Creek School. This emblem was preserved from the building that was Boones Creek School from 1939 to 2019. It is donated in memory of Harold K. Johnson, who has dedicated his life to Boones Creek School and Boones Creek community, serving as principal from 1954 to 1956, and as a member of the school board from 1976 to 1998, and dedicated by Jeff, myself, and Taylor Johnson."
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Go Bars.
That's right.
I was thinking it'd be a nice way, like a volunteer or something. We could get one like that, maybe. Pioneer, maybe. At least it didn't have that red on it.
So, under superintendent reports, certainly it's exciting, and I look forward to seeing that hung on the wall. But as we transition to superintendent reports, the next item is just a quick overview of data that's been shared, but we haven't had a chance in our board meetings to do so. It was released by the data was released by the state in June. It was embargoed for public release until July 6th. We had a board meeting the week before, so we haven't had a chance to go through this information. It's test data from the spring assessments and includes some data, some high school assessments are also given in the fall. But I just wanted to highlight what was put forth to us from the State Department. We have a lot of other data. Our school level specific data has been sent to their principals, and as they begin this year and work with their teams, they'll be looking at that information certainly to highlight the successes of last year, as well as identify any opportunities to improve. But if we go to the next slide, just want to start out, the slides are in Tennessee. We assess students in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math, English language arts and math, in science and social studies. Except these last few years, we've had a lot of, in addition to COVID, even prior to that, we had a lot of interesting turn of events in Tennessee state assessments over the last 5 or more years. So there's been some changes, but consistently, except for the year 2020, and then 1 year before that when we had the bottom fell out on state assessments, in Tennessee anyway, we've been able to get information on our students' outcomes pretty consistently in those subject areas. But this recent test administration, we have ELA math English Language Arts, Math, Science in the early grades, 3 through 5. And then we have, in addition, we have social studies in grades 6 through 8. Eventually, as a state, we'll get back to all grades 3 through 8 having all 4 subject areas assessed and be part of the picture of the school year as far as student outcomes on state assessments anyway. But this first slide is just the ELA. You see the percentage. We're expected and we strive to assess as many of our students as possible. They spend their entire year, working on grade level work and trying to address the state standards. And our teachers work hard to support students in achieving the goals that are outlined by those standards. And getting a 100% test rate is certainly the goal, but having a 98% assessment rate is really exciting and respectable, and certainly something to be proud of, getting our students to the point where they can demonstrate, at least on that one day, and that's on the test, what they worked so hard with their teachers all year long. But as you can see, 98%. This is just over time. You see 2017, 2018, 2019, skip 20 because of COVID. That's, in COVID year when things shut down in March, state assessments are in April and mid to end of April and early May. So no assessments in 20. Thank goodness. We used some good judgment there as a state. But then we picked back up. We tried to pull out of all the challenges of COVID as a state and each school district, and we returned and resumed assessments in 21 last year, the previous year, and then 22 this past spring. You can see the trend. If you look back to 2017 in English Language Arts, and this is all students that were tested, you see where we're at. Where we were in 2017 was at a 42%, what I would say, success rate, which means that students met or exceeded the state expectations of the standards in the grade level and the subject areas. The 41% the next year, and then Washington County had a slight rise in 2019 with 45%, but then the year coming out of COVID, 2021 spring, we had a drop that was not as significant as the rest as a state, but in Washington County, we're most concerned about our students and the outcomes of our students. There was a slight drop to 35, but through last year and the hard work of the teachers, the students, everyone that supports the classroom, our teachers and students, we're able to get back up to the level prior to COVID. So that's something to be very proud of. It was a trend across the state of Tennessee, but it was that 41% is higher than the state of Tennessee. So, I think comparisons are important, but the most important comparison is ourselves, where we were, where we are, and where we're headed to. So, that incline is certainly a testament to the hard work of our teachers and our students, and as I said, everyone that supports everything they do in the classroom every day. So, if I can go to the next slide. This is just a breakdown of different grade levels. You can see the same kind of trend, although it's not as pronounced at the high school levels at this time. But you still see what we want to see is from last year, 2021, to this year, you see an increase in what I would call a good positive slope of the performance on the state test. So we want to continue that and continue that line of increase. And I know our teachers and students will be working hard. And it's not about the test, it's about meeting the challenges of the state standards and students being challenged every day, teachers being supported to challenge students every day, and our teachers being there with our students to make sure students know they can accomplish what's expected of them. If we can go to the next slide. Just pull out a grade. The state just pulled out 4th grade for Washington County. We actually, over time, I'd be excited to talk about other grade levels. We had some really good high points across several grade levels and subject areas. This one highlights 4th grade. Again, same kind of indication. You look at the outcome, it mirrors overall. It's a 41%. So 4th grade represents the entire grade level span. of a 41% success rate. And returns were really close to 2019, and we're back to where we were before COVID. But we want to continue to rise and climb and increase the number of students that meet or exceed those grade level expectations in the subject areas. So if we can go to the next slide. As we get more data, and we received some just released to us yesterday, and we'll continue to get more as the profile for last year starts to come together, and then we will receive information on state accountability measures. These are just the data of the assessments. We will also eventually get a state report card that pulls together all of the data with meeting all the accountability expectations, but it's still a work in progress. But one thing to point out, you see kind of where we are compared to the state of Tennessee. As I said, our rise was a little higher than the state. If you look at that bar graph, the red represents the state of Tennessee, the blue represents Washington County Schools. So just we're above the state as far as that increase and that climb and the position of where our students were able to perform. But again, we want to continue with that upward slope and see that number go from 40% to 50% to 60% and beyond. I mean, really, our goal is not half of our students being successful on grade level standards. It's all of our students being on grade level standards. But it does take time, and it certainly takes hard work, and our teachers certainly are ready for that work, and they want to support students to be successful. You'll see one other thing, we start talking about subgroup information, which is they disaggregate our students into different demographic groups and other characteristics. As you can see, we got the demographics of race, and then we have economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, and English language learners. We don't have enough students to have any data on English language learners, but you can see our outcomes with proficiency levels with students with disabilities. We have a lot of work to do there. Economically disadvantaged students. These are specifically those that meet the definition of poverty of the families. It doesn't represent all of our students that might be on free and reduced lunch, but you can see our achievement gap between all of our students in a subgroup of economically disadvantaged. There's some differences there. We want to really work hard to close that gap. And then our racial differences too. We want to close that gap as well, not by lowering our standards, but by increasing everyone to move in the right direction. If we can go to the next slide. And that was fourth grade ELA, a snapshot of fourth grade ELA. And just to dig a little deeper, you can see the economically disadvantaged students, the percentage of our students in our district that meet that definition based on the poverty level is 23%. But the thing to focus on there is there certainly are challenges with students that what I would call under-resourced and with them and their families, but it's our job and our mission to overcome those challenges and help students succeed no matter their circumstances. Next slide. We move into the last couple of slides is math, and just want to highlight that. This is all students, so this includes all grade levels in math. We do know if we had to pick highlight a challenge that we know as a district, it is math. We certainly have a lot of room to grow in ELA as well, but math, we're working on making sure our teachers have the resources they need and the support they need to support students across all grades in all schools in math. And so we'll be working hard on that. In all districts in Tennessee will, as we transition to new math standards across the state of Tennessee. And then with that comes new textbook adoptions for math in the next 2 years. So we'll be adopting new standards as a state. Districts will be looking at and securing new math resources, and then training and supporting teachers to implement those in the classroom over the next 2 years. So those are big decisions we know can make a big difference in the future. If we can go to the next slide. And this is again breaking out by the grade spans, elementary, middle, and high. You certainly see the slope, the increase from 21, those last two bars in each of those categories. You see the difference between 21 and 22. We want to see that kind of continued improvement to get us back to where we were before COVID and surpass that over the next several, next few years. I will call out high school. Definitely, I know our high school teachers have worked very hard and they will continue to do so. But, historically, we really got to overcome some gaps and improve high school tremendously in math. Next slide. Just another highlight, and this was in math, a grade level highlight. You see the increase from 21 to 22. You see that we went from I should have remember 25% met or exceeded expectations in 7th grade math to a 44%, which is a huge increase in coming out of that slope. So that was previously years. In 21, that was the 6th graders taking the test next year, the 7th graders, and they showed that much increase as 7th graders. If we can go to the next slide. Same thing here, just as before with the ELA, it's showing the breakdown in demographics. Once again, you can see with students with disability, we continue to try to make sure they have the resources and supports, and our teachers that work with students that have special needs and special supports, they have what they need as well. You also see economically disadvantaged students. The achievement gap is much wider in math than it is in ELA, and we really have to identify what structures and supports we need to move that in the right direction. And this is highlighting again the students with disabilities. The positive thing that everybody and all of our team and the community should celebrate is just that positive slope coming from 21, pulling out of COVID, and then working through it this past school year, and then performance on the state assessments in the spring showed a positive increase that we all needed to see and certainly expected to see based on the hard work that everyone was doing. Next slide. Science, just quickly, this is another opportunity for our growth as a school system as we work towards strengthening science in the middle schools as far as having additional supports around STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math across all schools. I believe that's really going to support our science teachers and the learning of science in middle schools. It's also going to make a difference in high schools over the next few years. Next slide. Social studies. Again, is this slightly, you see the difference between middle and high. I just want to remind you, we did not assess grades 3, 4, and 5 in social studies. We will return to that at some point in the state of Tennessee, but this is 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then high school grades, U.S. history particularly. But we want to continue to see significant increases over the next several years in social studies as well. So I think one more slide, or that's the last slide?
I think it's it.
All right. So I know throwing a little bunch of data at everyone, but we're continuing to get more data, and the important thing about that is it doesn't define us. It just helps us identify our areas to celebrate, which we have several areas that we really need to look closer at and make adjustments, and then look forward to that continued growth. But very excited.
I had a question on the economically disadvantaged. It's 23%.
Based on the poverty definition, I think.
Okay, and that's based on people
The
feeling
direct
like
certification, you hear that? No, that's a direct certification. So if they're already on some kind of government assistance,
Okay,
they're direct
that's
cert.
okay.
That's where that number comes from.
Okay.
Now, other additional funds like federal dollars, that's where the disconnect happens sometimes. We don't accurately represent our community as far as the number of students and families that might qualify for free and reduced lunch, because some people don't fill out the application, and then thus we don't get the our tax dollars that went to Washington, we don't get them back for our school system because we just don't have the level of participation that we probably should have. But if I had to say one takeaway, the important thing to note is the improvement that our teachers and our students made last year. And we're going to continue to, like I used earlier, that slope's going to continue to hopefully get steeper and positive, and we're going to continue to move students and impact student achievement together. Any questions? I could talk about it longer if you want me to.
We had several teachers leave in high school math anyway, didn't we? And that caused some of our,
That's and across in Washington County and our neighboring districts in the state of Tennessee, and when we lose a math teacher, there's not a deep pool for math teachers, so it's very competitive and a struggle to find math teachers. The universities aren't producing many math teachers either, so even exploring alternative licensure to get qualified individuals in the classroom is a big challenge. So when we lose someone, yes, it creates a vacuum sometimes. And we've had some classrooms that's gone without a permanent teacher for some time in math, and that certainly has a negative effect. And we try to supplement with additional resources and online resources, but you just cannot replace an effective teacher with any kind of technology or any other supplements. When we're able to identify and have an effective teacher in every classroom, that's where the differences are made.
It's good to see that upswing. That's like,
we're just gonna keep getting higher.
Well, we want to use that momentum and keep moving it up. Next one is just enrollment updates and all of their normal reporting that I provide to the board just for your awareness and public record. Just as a quick note on enrollment update, it is a little fluid right now, but Monday we tried to address a lot of the no-shows, our anticipated no-shows, to clean up our numbers. But as you see on the report, right now what's reflected, and we will continue to modify this and monitor this every day for the next several days to ensure our enrollment information is solid. And that's just a normal beginning of the year process. But you can see, including pre-K and also including university school enrollment numbers, our total enrollment in Washington County schools right now is indicated to be at 8,367 students. So that's the continued holding steady and on enrollment from previous year.
So the virtual academy is still has 58.
We still wanted to roll in those that had begun during
Right.
COVID to give them the option, and some of them have chosen to go back to their home school in the traditional environment. But we wanted to carry them through into, and if they want to continue all the way through the high school grades in the Tennessee Virtual Academy, they can. Okay. Next reports, and just don't need to pull them up. You'll have our field trip reports just for your awareness. The updates just on the current facilities updates, maintenance reports. The monthly financials provided by Mr. Hale for your awareness, and monthly personnel reports with all of the transactions, new hires, resignation letters, terminations, and just personnel changes and transfers. And then grant report submitted by Ms. McKinney. If there's no questions.
Move on.
Yes, sir.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Consideration of the consent agenda.
so moved.
Second.
Okay. Jennifer.
Open. General Administrator.
Yes, sir.
All agreed.
Can I ask a quick question? So when it says that the lotting for the fields for Daniel Boone and David Crockett, it says August 30th, is that the date it will be installed, or is that the date that it should be finished?
That is the date the contractor says the equipment should be delivered.
That is just the start.
We already doing preliminary, the contractor's beginning demolition of the old wiring, so that when the equipment does arrive, it'll expedite the installation process. But right now, and with deliveries of equipment, it's unfortunately not certain, but we're praying and crossing our fingers that it hits that mark so that when it does get here on the 30th, they'll have everything staged and they can start installing. I'm told it's about a day and a half per pole, and we have 4 at each field, so 8 poles. That's how long
So a week for each place.
pretty much is.
And will they simultaneously work on those, or is it just one group? putting
I
poles
think
in?
it's one crew, so they'll start at one and then
Okay.
get to the other as quickly as they can.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it, facilities?
Yeah, if you want.
Straight into it?
Yes, sir. Item we have, and Todd Bring and his team are here to present. I don't know who's presenting. I know.
We all are.
All right. I know Dr. Bell's here, Paul's here, and I haven't met.
Jake.
So turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, in case you didn't get enough data there from Mr. Boyd, we brought some extra data for you to look over and listen as we go through. So, again, my name's Todd Brang. We work as Chief Architects. We have Dr. Brian Bell with us. He's our educational planner. Jake Thomas is a project manager and with our firm, and also was one that was very involved in this assessment, and Paul McCall as well. Is the director of architecture, but also very involved. This is just a small portion of our team. Probably had 3 to 4 more members of our team that worked on the assessment throughout the last several months. And but this is who you got tonight. So we'll all be presenting a small portion of the analysis, and then we're here to answer any questions that you may have. Also, let me just get started. We went through this. So just to tell you a little bit about, so that you can see who are kind of some of the people that we talked to and our program participants. We talked with multiple principals. Dr. Bell actually sat down with each principal of every school and talked to them about their school's needs and concerns and things that were going great as well. And so we talked with each of your principals. We also talked with staff and administration here at central office, and then some other folks that we talked with the Chamber of Commerce, Washington County Chamber of Commerce, also Johnson City, Jonesboro Chamber of Commerce, and as I said, the many participants that you see on the screen. Also, this is just, as I said before, this was our team. So you get a look at that we had several people that were working on this as we were working over it the last few months. Really quick, just a little bit about us. If you remember, some of you may or may not, as you know, we're celebrating our 40th year of business this year. We're very involved in TSBA. We've constructed over $550 million worth of schools, and I shouldn't say we construction, we're designers, but we've been involved in the construction of over $550 million. And you know, the big statistic that we're very proud of is the 83% repeat clientele, which means basically that of our total gross revenue each year, about 83% of that comes from repeat clients, so we're very proud of that. Where we work, we kind of work all over Tennessee, but mainly in East Tennessee and a little bit into Middle Tennessee. Been involved in many different school projects and throughout 20 plus counties and 24 different school systems. Tonight, just to let you know, we're going to tell you a little bit about our process, and Dr. Bell's going to come up and tell you a little bit about that. But also the way that this is going to kind of go is this is a snapshot. You've got 175 pages worth of information there, and so that's a lot. And so we didn't think that we wanted to go through every single little thing tonight, just in essence of time. But we're going to give you a snapshot of a couple of items, go over some demographics, growth information, some of the stuff that we found out during our study that we feel is very important to our findings,
And then hopefully leave, like I said, a little bit of time for a question and answer session. So with that, I'll let Dr. Bell tell you a little bit about our process.
Good afternoon, Board. Mr. Boyd, it's nice to see you again since Gatlinburg. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how we do our business at Boone School, especially when it comes to school assessments. And if you see that squiggly line, that kind of represents what our process looks like. See if I can get it. So you see in the middle of that squiggly line, that was us in about January when we first came up and met with y'all. We didn't know anything about Washington County schools. Most of us have been to Johnson City and some of us have been to Jonesboro, but as far as your school system, we didn't know anything. I went and met with all your principals and asked a lot of questions. And I'm sure when I left, their comment was, gosh, that guy didn't know anything about Washington County. And they were right, I didn't. We'd get lost every time we'd go try and find a school. We thought Mountain View Restaurant was the capital area of Washington County. That's the only place we knew how to drive to. But as we got into the process, when we met with your principals and we started pulling enrollment data and figuring capacity, looking at the census report, talking with your maintenance people, it started to make a little bit more sense. And then we started analyzing the reports, we started digesting the information. We sat and marinated on it for about 3 months as we worked through all your demographics and your growth and your capacity. And finally, we come up with a plan, and that's our recommendations are the culmination of all the information, all the data, and all of our projections. And so we go through this planning process. It's kind of like what Mr. Boyd's going to do with the data he just received. So he'll take the TCAP data, the end of course data, the TVAS data, talk with his teachers, and he will develop a plan on how to improve Washington County schools based upon the data that he received. We're doing the same thing. We get our data, and our goal is to give you the most unbiased, objective recommendations we can. And our goal is to improve Washington County schools for you, to make the best recommendations we can. And so, right about now, see where that line flattens out and curves out? That's where we are now. But that's the process that we go through. It's a long process. It can't be shortened because it's a learning process. And all the information that we receive, we just have to sit and digest and then make our best plan and put it forward. So that's where we are. And just interesting enough, as we go through the process, this is our office. We have a war wall. And on our wall, we put everything we can about Washington County schools. And every time we walk by, we have to look at it, study it a little bit. And so we have that, and that's just part of our process that we go through. And the culmination is the 177-page book that you have tonight, and the recommendations we're going to give you a little later.
So, hello again.
Hey.
So on the architectural side, and that's mainly Jake and I here, you all know, we visited all the schools, we did assessments. We're not going to run through every one of your schools. Again, we've mentioned probably several times that, we were impressed with all the schools, regardless of age of the school, from the oldest to the newest. They're maintained very well, very clean. So I think there's a lot of the staff is to be commended. But just a snapshot here. We thought we'd select Grandview Elementary. It's one of your newer schools, not the newest, but it's circa 2008, and the idea that just going through the sorry, I'm stumbling here. the process that we went through for each one of these, I'm gonna hand it over to Jay just to go through the assessment.
Follow along page 40 and 41. Like Paul said, we've done this for each of the facilities listed here tonight. Just walk through this really quickly. On your left page, you'll see we'll have an aerial shot snapshot of your school on the next page. On the right side, we've got your building plan. Here's your original date of construction. This one is one of the more recent ones, so there hasn't been any additions, but so there's no additional colors on this. You'll see that ties into it. We have a sheet where it lays out all the additions for all the schools in the system. We have a street view, a quick overview, the grades. Your system is pretty simple. It's either kind of pre-K through 8 or high school. Number of classrooms, stories, square footage. We've calculated the functional capacity for each of the schools, and we've been given the current enrollments, which I believe is up to date as of this last week. As of May, excuse me. So there we go. We've got those, and then the bottom you'll see we've kind of broken each one of these out into a star rating, and these star ratings aren't perfect. Just trying to give you an idea of where these things kind of rank in comparison to one another. So we've got age of the existing facilities, building envelope and structure, health and safety, accessibility, general conditions, and then mechanical, which in a lot of these systems where we do these assessments, they really love a very specific system, and they have that everywhere. So it's very easy to compare apples to apples on those. Here, a lot of these schools have different mechanical systems. So you'll see, I didn't even try to put a star rating on the mechanical system. I'll refer you to our mechanical engineers right up on those. And then we have the last 6 years, average utility cost as provided. So on the next page, it breaks those 5 elements down. You'll see little excerpts about building envelope, structure, health and safety, accessibility, general conditions. And then some images that we took as we were conducting our assessments. Tried to do, good things and bad things. Bad, you know what I mean? Skylights, you can see create open spaces with daylight. That's fantastic. But also the sidewalks cracking. So, not trying to be too negative on any of these. Then here's your floor plan in those images that I just showed you, are keyed in to this floor plan, as well as the mechanical assessment, which you see in the bottom right. You've got the key, pulls out the FAU units, classrooms, if it's water source, heat pump, makeup air, all those things are keyed into the plan in blue triangles. And here's the mechanical and plumbing and electrical assessments. I'll let you guys read those. Pretty dry. We're available for questions if you guys do read these over. Develop some questions. Always, send us an email. I'm happy to address any comments, questions that you have. So the facilities conditions comparison. This is where all of the facilities are in terms of their star rating. And I want to preface this by saying 1 star to 5 star. 5 star is not the best building in history. 1 star is not the worst. These are all compared to one another. And also, this was the state of the building the day that I was there, right? So I feel like maybe 1 or 2 of these buildings got a little bit lower ranking just because the janitor he quit a couple days before, or the students had just run amok through there. So this is a snapshot when we visited and assessed the building. So age of existing facilities, you can see at the top, that's pretty self-explanatory. The newer the school, the higher the star ranking on that. Building envelope structure, are there cracks, deterioration, settlement, anything that would compromise your building envelope? Health and safety, you're going to hear this said a lot. These buildings are very, very well maintained. So health was not so much of a concern. Normally is there mold? It really wasn't. Asbestos, things like that. Didn't see that. But for safety, things like security, it really leaned heavily on the security aspect for health and safety. Accessibility, in 1992, the ADA was passed, so any building or addition that was constructed after 92 is going to be accessible. Probably anything before that, not going to be accessible. So maybe it had been updated at some point, but generally newer buildings make sense, more accessible. General conditions is just an average of taking your building envelope, your site, the interior, and then averaging them all out. I will reiterate, so very well maintained, these buildings, and I haven't seen this in any of the assessments that we've done. The star ratings really very closely match how new the building is. It's a very high, the newest buildings are more accessible. The entries are more secure, and it just kind of comes down in a line based on how old the buildings are. So.
I think the takeaway really from a lot of the individual schools and the facility observations, and you've heard them say it, is that exactly how well maintained they are. As you go through those facility observations, you're going to see things on there, right? You're going to see things that we saw, like Jake said, that day, and pointed out, and took pictures, and and documented for you. And those are things that I'm sure that you can get in touch with your maintenance and take a look at those a little bit further. But really, for the most part, when you look across the system's in pretty good shape from a maintenance standpoint. We've been in a lot worse systems, and your maintenance department really needs to be commended for the job that they're doing right now for Washington County Schools. That's the main takeaway that comes out of those facility observation reports. As I said, we've seen things a lot worse shape, and as a system, you're in pretty good shape. And again, there are so many of those. The majority of the book is made up of facility observations. So, be happy to answer those questions either now or not now or at the second now, but at the end of this presentation, we can address some of those, or we can address those through email or come up to another meeting, or however you want to do that, okay? Because you may not have even had time to go through all of them just yet. Some of the demographic information that really starts to stand out as we started looking through this, as a population density and distribution, probably everybody kind of knows this, right? Johnson City's, got the majority of it with 55%, Jonesboro and Gray, and then the remaining making up the county, as you can see. Your major employer locations, obviously located up and down I-26, a lot in that Johnson City area up towards Kingsport as you travel I-26. Obviously, with major employers comes population growth in some cases, and we're starting to see that here. One of the things that we started looking at when it came down to demographics was 2013 to 2019. The county had minimal growth, we'll say 3% overall county growth, and but then all of a sudden in that next year alone, it jumped 5% in 1 year, the overall county growth. And so we started studying that a little bit more, and as you can see, Johnson City jumped up 6.7% in that year, and Jonesboro itself jumped up 7% in that 1 year. Because at first we were looking at this thinking that growth was kind of stagnant based on the U.S. Census data, but then when we pulled some really the freshest U.S. Census data, meaning from this past year, that's when we started to see this uptick in population boom. The projected areas of growth, in some of our conversations, is obviously along the corridor in that gray area. And Washington County Chamber of Commerce anticipates continued growth in this region due to its proximity to both Johnson City and to Kingsport. Some of the main takeaways in talking with them that came out of that, back in spring of 2020, in the top, actually it's stated in the Wall Street Journal, the top 20 emerging housing markets in the United States, Johnson City is number 17. Age demographics relocating in Johnson City from October 20th to around December 21st, 57% are between the ages of 21 and 42, which is childbearing ages, right? And then the pandemic population shift. Domestic migration per 1,000 residents in the United States, Johnson City is ranked 6th and Kingsport is ranked 5th. Funny thing is, it's just in the last week, you may have seen it in the news because we saw it on your local news stations. Emerging House Market Index in Johnson City went from, in April of this year to just last week, as stated in the Wall Street Journal, went from 17th to 3rd. So just in the amount of time that we've been doing this study, it's increased even more, which is telling us that our population is increasing, and it's something that we need to be aware of as we start to look forward in the future. And Dr. Bell's going to tell you a little bit about that.
So the key points, the key takeaways, if you will, from the assessment. One, and we mentioned it several times, that your building maintenance throughout the system is excellent. That's one of your chair points. Number two is you have an opportunity to enhance security in all your buildings. Boone's Creek is about as secure as they come, but the rest of the buildings, you have an opportunity to add additional security. Enrollment growth in the northern part of the county will probably necessitate additional capacity. Future capital investments in property, both 5 year and 10 years, to accommodate growth and equity. And the enrollment growth is flat in the southern part, which may necessitate boundary adjustments in the southern part. Those are the key takeaways from this assessment. A look at our recommended improvements, and once again, all of our improvements and recommendations come from the data, the information, and projections. The first one is recommended campus security updates. And as I told you before, it's almost a misnomer for me to say you have to improve your security, because you've got really good security in your schools. And hats off to the board for your investment in controlled access doors and card swipes and cameras and your SROs and security perimeter fencing. Great job. Although we recommend that in all schools other than Boone's Creek that you invest in secure vestibules. And we've talked about this before, and secure vestibules add a second additional screening or set of eyes on people who come into your buildings. We recommend that. Of course, it'll look different in every building. The way it's designed for David Crockett High School is going to look different from the way it's designed at Ridgeview or at Fall Branch or at South Central or at any of your other schools. It's going to look different, but it can be done, and we recommend that this is one of the steps you take. Based upon the enrollment data that you have now, compared to your capacity, plus growth projections in the northern sector of the county, we recommend some zoning boundary adjustments. That we try and take kids and adjust the zone and send some from Ridgeview, your most crowded school. I think you're up to 99% based upon the new May numbers, and I'm not how they reflect out of the current numbers. You'll know more in about 3 weeks, I'm sure. And send kids from the boundary areas of the current zone, send some to Sulphur Springs, and send some to Gray. And you notice the amount you can send to Gray is getting a little smaller just because Gray's growing faster. I think now they're up to about 91% of their capacity. And so that, we probably have to relook at that in light of the new numbers. But what we're trying to do is reduce the capacity for Ridgeview to allow for them to grow a little bit more. Because right now, 99% capacity, and we call it functional capacity. And functional capacity, our definition is the total amount of students building and cold until that enrollment starts to affect the academics, the climate, and the culture of the school. When you get too many kids, they may be able to fit. You probably can have a lot of different closets and smaller rooms that you can put kids in, but is it good for the school academically? Climate-wise, is it good for the school? So we call it our functional capacity. We're trying to reduce that from Ridgeview using excess capacity you have at Sulphur Springs and a little bit of the excess capacity you have at Gray, but maybe not. Following up on that, you have additional or you have excess capacity in the south. So a school that is really climbing up its capacity is Grandview. But we have some ways to control Grandview's growth. And it's basically starting and moving the enrollment zones up. So you start down at the bottom with South Central. You try and extend its zone up into Westview. Probably take about 75 students. Then we take Westviews and extend up into Ridgeview. Probably take about 90 students. And our goal is capacity or enrollment equity. So if we do that, each school should be operating right at about 74, 75, 76% of their capacity. And it equalizes them out. And it takes advantage, once again, of existing capacity that you have in those two southern tier schools. Now, based on our projections and everything you've heard about growth in Johnson City, we recommend that in the next 5 years, it would be prudent for the board to purchase property in the northern sector for eventually to build another school. We've targeted this area right in here, right off State Route 36, that is still in the county, for an eventual elementary school, K-8 elementary school, that will eventually take students from Boone's Creek, Gray, and Ridgeview, and help both add capacity to that northern area and alleviate some of the functional capacity overcrowding issues that you probably will have in the near future.
And in 5 years, we'll be able to know what Johnson City's going to do.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the current builders are asking to be annexed into the city. So that will give us an idea of what,
Right.
so we're not repeating.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And once again, this is not a recommendation we're saying to go out and put cash on the barrelhead tomorrow and buy property.
Right.
This is something that we believe is going to be necessary.
Do you find that it's more cost effective and I guess functional to add another school versus expand the schools you already have?
I think that's something you can probably look at, but I think when we're talking about Boone's Creek and Gray and Ridgeview, we don't look for, it doesn't look like there's a lot of area around the school to expand.
Yeah, I just wonder if you don't, the only reason I say that because, you know, you're talking about $40–50 million 2 miles from 3 schools.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just saying, is there a way to go up at a school building? Is there a way to?
I think we can look at that, but unfortunately, that's where you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the people are.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where your kids are. I mean, it would be great if we go down south and you have a population boom down there.
We don't have an interstate down there.
Yeah, I know. You got a lot of 2-lane roads in there and probably no sewer.
If we had the interstate, we'd be all right.
Yeah.
No internet?
Mm-hmm. No internet, no interstate, or water.
And once again, this is not something the board needs to, our recommendation, they don't need to act on right away, but this is something that you need to keep in your hip pocket. If the enrollment keeps growing or the population keeps growing in Johnson City, and peripheral areas around the city, is probably going to be necessary.
There's no way we can tell how many of these new houses and stuff that's going in that's even going to have kids in them.
Correct.
That's another issue.
Yeah. But our experience is a majority of homes in a certain price range produce kids through their schools. Okay, not everyone. Okay. Because of growth in the northern sector, growth at Gray and Boones Creek and Ridgeview and all that northern area around Johnson City, the peripheral areas, we believe that an upgrade is going to be necessary, an expansion is going to be necessary at Daniel Boone High School. I mean, it just kind of makes sense, doesn't it, that if all your feeder schools are growing and they're reaching capacity, the ultimate destination where they end up at, Daniel Boone High School, is going to start feeling some growing pains as well. And so our recommendation would be in the next 10 years, look seriously at about a 400 capacity addition to Daniel Boone High School. Now, what that looks like, what configuration, does CTE play a role in this? How many academic classrooms? 400 students would be about 13 or 14 additional classrooms, plus probably additional core space, bathroom spaces, look at enlarging the cafeteria, and so on. But we believe that's probably going to be necessary within the next 5 to 10 years. And on final,
I'm sorry, is there land available around there, or have you had?
I think that's an additional study that needs to be done, because you have a lot of land, but a lot of it is for your geothermal system.
Exactly.
And it's you know, restricted what we can put over it.
Is that, how old is that system? Do you know?
It was built put in 71.
So, is that something that you just totally relook at now?
Put parking lot over.
That's what I mean. I mean, there's
Yeah.
other, if you're gonna go to that length, there's other avenues that maybe you don't have to have that.
We can also build up.
Yeah.
There's places to build up there.
But if you had 1,000 homes, you're easily gonna add 400 kids.
2006.
That was that. It's not that old, but.
Well, the thing about it is, you said that, what you said, 1,000 homes, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, when we done this study the last time, we had 9,500 kids. Today, I've got 8,300 by what that says right there, and I'm out of room. Now, you know, that don't make no sense.
Well,
if everybody's building on the Ridgeview plan or whatever, you know, I guess this board's gonna have to toughen up and say, you live in the zone, you're gonna go to that zone. I mean, I'm one that said I always let the kids go where they want to go as long as there's car riders to get them there, but it's looking to me like we're gonna have to change that.
Well, yeah, you had, well, like he said, you had 190 kids at South Central, which it looked like Fall Branch was up about 30 kids, from what I remember.
Yeah.
But still, you're gonna have to, for a while, probably, push them out.
Our final recommendation is land purchase for the new school in the northwest sector. And this is the one that I told you, we almost talked ourselves out of doing this one.
Can
Just
you tell
because.
us why?
Sorry.
Oh, you were fixing to answer my question.
That's all right.
Jumped.
That's all right. We almost talked ourselves out of it, based upon, even though both Fall Branch and Sulphur Springs are in really good condition, good condition schools. Utilities are right in line where they should be, really good. Both are community schools, and we're very sensitive to community schools. I was a director of Alcoa, which is a great community school, so I know how important they are. But what we looked at was, in 10 years, the core facility is going to be 93 years old. And things 93 years old usually start to manifest themselves in much different ways, with maintenance issues, utility issues, and so on. Plus, as I told you before, we looked at the classroom size, the average classroom size at both Fall Branch and Sulphur Springs, and they're significantly smaller than what you have in your newer schools. And so we looked at a thing called academic equity. You know, are your kids in these areas getting the same opportunity that they do in other schools? Now, of course, there's a lot of variables in that. And the biggest variable is the quality of the teachers. And I'm sure your teachers at Sulphur Springs and Fall Branch are fantastic. But still, there's a little academic equity when we talk about the comparison of, say, a Boone's Creek or a Ridgeview or a Grandview to Sulphur Springs and Fall Branch. So our recommendation is in 10 years, between now and 10 years, we look at purchasing property along State Route 81 for the purchase and eventually design and construction of a new elementary school. Now, we're not giving you a date on when you have to build a new elementary school. We're just saying the prudent thing for the board to do is prepare for that. Buy property.
Okay, this is not though this is not part of the where people are moving to. That is not. This is more farmland and community to communities. And I wanted to ask something else. I know when we were kind of interviewing some of their facilities groups to do this, I was impressed that you all wanted to talk to employees in the system and wanted to have good communication. And you wanted to have community input. Could you share any of that with us? How did the people?
Yeah, I think you.
Was it in? I'm sorry, I haven't.
Yeah, we documented a lot of what the community said. And be honest with you, when we had that meeting in Boone High School, we had several parents show up and talk about their concerns about Fall Branch, and they didn't want to close, and we take that very seriously.
Okay.
And understand that. And once again, we just present
Right, I
unbiased,
understand.
objective report.
And maybe in 10 years,
Yeah, maybe in 10
we'll
years.
revisit it, but they kind of want a little bit of peace of mind,
Sure.
and I don't blame them.
Sure.
They're very proud of their communities.
And once again, Fall Branch is a really cool school.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it really is a cool school.
It is.
Although we do have concerns about the driveway, building part of the school. That's a security concern. Those are our 5 recommendations. Once again, we appreciate your time. We really enjoyed working for you, and we actually love coming up to Washington County. Once again,
Now you know all about it.
Yeah, we'll South Mountain View Restaurant.
Did you know about the bar till tonight? Did you learn anything about the bars? Paul knows all about it.
He was thinking about a bar. He was going to stop at. He said, "Where's this at?" Somebody talked to us about the ADA. I mean, we're failing. Well, I don't know if I can call us failing, but we are. That's one of our issues that about every school we're not doing what we need to be doing. Is the laws changed and we fell behind on it, or what? What is
According to us or according to?
Well, according to you all, what you're calling findings, the ADA, and you know, I've read this book. I've went through this book, and you know, about every school's got issues with ADA, and I just, you know,
Yeah.
toilets are not toilets are not compliant.
Sorry, go ahead.
You know, just stuff like that. I mean, it says wheelchair ramps. I mean, you know, that's something I feel like that we need to look at, but just with safety.
Sure.
I mean, what is our next plan? What do we need to, you know,
All our schools are grandfathered in under ADA, so.
So here's all your schools.
yeah.
Here's the newest, oldest. ADA is right here. So at least 2/3 of your facilities are not required by law to be, well, maybe they are, I don't want to say
Yeah.
Pre-1992 buildings, unless there's a significant renovation, are not required to be 100% up to that law.
You're
So-
just saying they're not.
Correct.
What you
It's
do
not a
with it's
failure.
up to you.
It's just, they could be more accessible. I mean, almost any building could be more accessible.
I
Would be
think
happy
where
to
we
talk
can,
about that.
we certainly initiate planning and address it, even whether it's required or not.
Well, and two, I'd say depend on the need and the building.
Right.
I mean, if you got 2 or 3 kids that need it and there's a school you don't, then direct your attention where you have to.
Fall Branch, again, is a beautiful school. The brickwork at that school makes me happy as an architect to see it. When that school was built, accessibility wasn't even a thought, right? So the 2 main entrances on the front of that building, not accessible. There's stairs. You have to go around and drive through and enter into kind of the secure shell of the building to get in. So a lot of times if we can develop a plan where we address all of those things at the same time, we're improving security, the secure vestibules, improve accessibility, we can do all these things in one school. So.
And I think that's what our focus needs to be. From my takeaway from your all study is safety.
Sure.
And after what happened in Texas a couple months ago, that's still on a lot of people's minds.
Or not to think
And
about.
I know, that's something that we need to focus on first, in my opinion. That's,
How about it'll be on your next meeting agenda?
this is a board chairman's last meeting.
Thank y'all for-
Passing the torch.
If I was here, it'd be on it'd be number 1 on the
Well, it
list,
does
I'm
need
just
to be.
saying.
Yeah, that was actually the first recommendation, so we'll go with it.
And I'll say to your question about what do we pull, not that we didn't see it ourselves, but from the community session, a lot of the comments were about security.
Secure entry seat, yeah, that needs to be addressed, in my opinion.
Oh, Mr. Fleener.
Thank y'all, appreciate everything, all the information, we got a lot to dive into to study ourselves. Thank y'all, thank you for being able to answer even more questions and stuff.
We're available for any other questions. Just call.
Now, we have indicated to our county commissioners that we feel like there needs to be an invite for them and have a conversation around just this information. And so I'll be reaching back out to you when we are able to solidify that. Thank you all.
If they're done, Mr. Boyd, I'm getting a lot of requests for a 5-minute break.
You're the chair. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's take 5.
That's your last break.
That's break.
Sorry, Tommy, I was.
That building's on the south grade, right on the ground. Large ones. Yeah, just need to look into it.
Let's get this show back on the road, can we?
Just because you want to be out here.
I know y'all will be here all night.
We're just trying to prolong it. Yeah, we don't want you to leave.
I know it. I hate to rush things along.
Can I make a motion to look into the secure vestibule?
To do actual workshop.
Since he did the gavel, I get it.
I started to ask that very question.
If you're, if it moves into design and construction, yeah, we'll have to go through that process.
How do we get started?
We just need to put
Make
it
a
on the
motion,
workshop.
honey, make a
We
motion.
put it on the workshop for the
Wait, okay,
24th.
then I make a motion. Well, I don't need a motion.
When you get the workshop put on.
My charge is the board's been given recommendations, and then I can help
That's what we need to do.
provide options for the board to
They were
consider.
telling me people were concerned that some of their,
Of course.
yeah.
Every school. I mean, even, although they made some modifications at Boone Creek where the 2 doors going into the hallways, they've added controlled access, but prior to that, that was not there, so
And
that's
I
a good
would
addition.
even like for us to look at, not all their schools, but look into and hiring an additional person at least both high schools that is gonna filter.
Security.
An extra security, not that's all, but somebody, I know.
Well, I always prefer a trained law enforcement officer.
Well, I know, but,
Because prevention is important and absolutely necessary,
that's true.
but your law enforcement officers are trained to respond.
Right.
The quicker the response, lives are saved.
Mr. Boyd, how about Tommy Burleson? You'll let him come out?
Yes, sir.
Let's
probably don't want to, but come on over here.
I'm glad to be here. It's always a pleasure. Give you a little update on the Jonesboro school, and you'll be glad to know that security in this school is better than the security in Jonesboro school and the Boone Creek school, so it ought to be good. Total contract amount, you should notice $35 million, completed to date is $11,007,000, or about 33.4%. Now, when we started talking about flooring, we're talking about flooring in Boone's Creek.
Yes,
which
sir.
They're trying to send me the stuff, okay?
Yes, sir.
And if I don't have it, I will give it to you.
Yes, sir.
Because it's got, somewhere in the translation got me set. But the city of Jonesboro, after meeting with architects, decided to upgrade the LVT in the quarters from a 3 millimeter to 4.5 millimeter thickness, so you can get more color options. It's got better acoustics. It'll last a little longer. Now, Jonesboro is doing that out of their contingency money, which they got to add some transition strips between the classrooms and the quarters to accommodate the little difference in thickness, but I mean, it's a minimal amount. And it gives 5 additional colors for the patterns that they saw with the walkthrough that they did have the color patterns in it. Well, they started picking out the colors, they couldn't get the patterns, or they couldn't get the colors that they wanted, so they went to this. And there's 3 carpet colors added to upgrade the carpet to get brighter colors for the meeting center and the storytelling. Now, the good news is there's 2 paw print logos and the LVT and partial carpet. The other good news is that comes with a price tag of about $90,000. The city of Jonesboro's put the bill for. So that's always good news.
Right?
It's coming out of their contingency. The city of Jonesboro has a contingency separate from the school contingency. We got lots of contingencies. Yeah, it's coming out of. It's coming out of. And there's a lot of things. It'll last longer. Okay, it'll keep its look longer. LVT is a very good form. Okay.
Leak?
Does it leak? It's putting out a different process than the other one was.
It'll float, won't it? No, it won't leak.
Yeah.
Is the bone dry gonna be put down before it's put down?
There's gonna be all kinds of different tests run on it, okay? This, that whole deal there is, there's a lot of people, there's some scientists scratching their heads over that. Well, actually, what did happen? What I do know about it, I'm trying to get to.
Go ahead and finish,
Very late.
Go ahead and finish
Yes.
Jonesboro.
So,
And then we'll talk about it.
all right, this is an aerial shot of the new school. Now, when you're looking at it, the top left is what is area A. And the front of the school actually faces towards Boone Creek School, face to the east, okay? That's area A. You can see the little kind of joint in it. Area B is the gym, the office administration area. Area C is the little part in the middle, which has got the locker rooms, the multi-purpose room, the stage, the band area, and the media area. The lower right is cafeteria and kitchen. And then you come on over to your art rooms, and then you got the E area, which is all classrooms. There's another shot of it, or this is a lower shot of it. This is looking back towards Jonesboro. Area A, the A wing is on the left, and the E wing is on the right. All the roof deck is on. That's looking from Thompson Meadow Lane back up the other way. You can kind of see the different elevations and what it's going to look like. All the roof deck is on. All the ground floor slabs are poured. All the second floor slabs are poured. So all the major concrete is poured. They're placing concrete to the stair pans tomorrow.
Is that a drainage pond that's gonna stay, or is that just?
No, that is a retention basin that will be.
It will stay.
So all the water that's around there is gonna run into that.
All that water comes in into all these big heavy rains we've had. We haven't had anything get over the top of it. But it stays wet for quite a long time.
Now, is the ball fields where they're supposed to go?
The
Is
ball
that-
fields.
Are they running into that too?
Yeah, it all drains in there. It's the,
Everything.
right above the, right in here is that big dirt pile that's got to be moved, okay? The ball fields are kind of start like right here and go that direction. Now, summer starters are going to get out there. The weather's been a little rough. They told us today, within 2 weeks, they'll be back out there starting to move all, get the rest of the grade. Okay, this is just a shot down the ground floor in area A. You can see the metal stud drop, water piping's going in, sprinkler piping's in, ductwork run. This is looking back, area B, looking back toward the gymnasium area, which you'll be looking through there's the principal's office and the main entrance. This is the monumental stairs that goes up and the kind of courthouse steps thing. There's another picture of it, just to the left of it. That's looking from the second floor down. You can see the stairs on the right. You can see that handrail on the other side. That's the courthouse steps type area that goes in there. It's really a nice picture. This is on the second floor looking down into the gym. There are actually 2 windows from the second floor that look into the gymnasium from inside the building. And that's the size of it. Your bleachers will be on the wall here that we're looking over, and the basketball court runs that way. This is the second floor area A. You can see the metal studs are up on it. Electrical boxes are going in on the second floor. Plumbing rough-ins going on the second floor. Plumbing rough-ins are done on the first floor in area A. The way we're going to finish it is going to be A, E, B, C, D. Okay. And the reason being, A and E's got all the classrooms in. There's a lot more work in the classrooms than just anywhere else. Kitchen people don't like to say that, but we always say that. There's a lot of work in the kitchen, but it goes in a whole lot quicker than the classrooms. This is standing in area A, looking toward area E. That shows your armor wall. That's a one-step process that takes care of your insulation, your vapor barrier, your waterproofing on the exterior. The brick and the metal panels will go on top of that. The metal panels are the last thing to go on. The brick, as of today, hopefully, 1st of October, we'll have the ones that are coming from Roanoke. The accent color brick are coming from North Carolina. They're going to be a little bit further behind. This is second floor area E. See, we've got metal studs going up in there already. This is the multi-purpose room and stage in area C. This is on the ground floor. The cafeteria is in behind it. And this is the media room looking out. Now, you got to imagine that media room. It's going to have some large windows in it, and that's all courtyard from there all the way to the end of the building. It is a significant size courtyard. It'll be a great area for kids. This is the cafeteria, looking back toward the kitchen. That lifts in the cafeteria, the kitchen. You can see the roof drop down. It's the kitchen behind. This is what we have been waiting on. It came the day before yesterday, the roof installation. The rubber roof came today, only for area A. And we were promised 12 tractor trailer loads of installation to the 24th of August. And that date's kind of starting to move again. At least we got enough to get A started. If we get A in the dry, that cuts us loose on getting all the finishes in there. A couple other things, talk about security on the thing. All the doors, all the exterior doors at Jonesboro will have what's called the DPS, a door positioning switch on it. We'll be able to tell, put a timer on it if that door is open for more than whatever the time's going to be. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. If somebody goes out and props the door open, it'll alarm wherever the board is, okay? There are access card readers going in all the, well, right now they're going in 11 of the main entry doors, actually all the main entry doors. We're making provisions in all of the other doors. The provision being it's a conduit, the power to the electric strike, just in case the money becomes available to add that in a later date. The hardest part on that stuff is getting the wires to everything. We're making provisions for all of that. We had a meeting out there this morning. Jared was with us. And several others, and we went through to get the wall, the teaching wall, all the electrical stuff worked out on it. We thought we had it worked out. It's really fancy box. It was an end-all to end-alls. That's all it was. It was a box. It didn't have any terminations. And so the guy was trying to sell it, did a really good job of selling the box. But then when it had all the other stuff, it had to go away. He just sold the box. Okay? So we went back to the old way of doing it. We've got individuals. We got all that worked out. Just got the drawing actually since I've been standing here, or sitting here, for everybody to approve on what it looks like. The completion date on that school is the 4th day of November 2023. We're doing everything we can to get that sooner than that. But we do have delivery problems on brick. The brick are like we could start laying brick a month ago. But problems on that. Roof insulation is the other big. Getting parts of it. It's coming. Metal panels that go with it are fine. The glass, the glazing. We've got all the door frames. We've got a lot of the doors. They're obviously not out there. We've got the doors. We've got HVAC equipment for A and B on the site. So we've got a lot of stuff coming in. A lot of stuff's going in quickly. We've got a good group of subcontractors and everything's going on. Any questions on that?
Is there any possible contingency on changing brick colors for better availability? Or is that
At this stage of the game, no, because anything that's going to have to be done is going to have to be made. And that's part of the issue. There's 320,000 brick of the one color on the job. And that's, to be honest with you, we looked to see if anybody had 320,000 brick laying around, which is close. And they didn't. We even, if you remember back on Jonesboro, what we were able to do was we were able to blend, because they had a bunch left over from UT, and they had a bunch left over from another that were close. You actually took two very close brick, blended to get it done. To do the school. We tried that here. Had success.
The windows, are they a tint to them, or are they just a basic clear?
No, there's a tent. There's a
They
tent.
are a tint to them.
Can you see from the outside in?
What it does, it's a glare. It's a glare. It almost looks like, yes.
On the main door.
It's not one that is, that the light is reflecting off the lighter side, okay? Because the bad news of that is if somebody's in there at night, it's a fishbowl, okay? And it's reflecting us, but it's got some reflectivity to it, and enough tint to it that it doesn't make it look like it's cloudy outside. It comes. Anything else?
Good report.
I'm looking to see here if somebody's hiding from me. But I'll try to answer any questions. And I apologize. I just had, we've been working on the floors for Jonesboro all these days, and when the floor question came, I just went, but I will get you a written report tomorrow.
We have received a map, where I guess there's some discoloration that was identified, or different colored tiles that were gonna be replaced.
Right.
But I think the big question is some of this concern about the glue.
The last that we tried, that we took out, the good news is it was whole lot harder to take up than the first part was. Okay? I mean, they had to really get in there and straighten up in some areas. But before I say something that I'm not 100% sure about, I will get in and get into it.
Is it not, at this point and this far into it, would it not just be better for everybody to pull it up and grind it?
Well, a bunch of
Be
it,
done with it.
you know, the process that happened last summer was went in there and we did take a bunch of it, and it was ground, and that stuff was put down. Okay? And all
I mean,
the
can you polish it? Could you do that and just polish it and just, what would be wrong with
not
that?
now. And here's the reason. When you place a concrete floor that's going to be polished, as soon as it's placed, you put a rough grind on it. Then you put the finish around it and you protect it. A floor that's not going to be protected gets a bunch of Ardex or floor filler put on it to where blocks drop.
Oh, yeah.
This, that, or the other. So it's not going to look like,
I got you.
it's not going to look like a polish. It's not going to look like they walked into a load.
That's a different mix too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a completely different animal.
I was thinking about that.
Now, what I do know is that when they had to come back, that the bone dry people that came back had a little issue with it. Took care of all that. It was, they're not saying something was done wrong because their techniques were good. That's why they're kind of scratching. I'll get you a full update on it.
Is an LVT with an underlayment, is that a bad idea?
No.
That don't glue down?
It doesn't glue down, but it's
Moisture still there?
you've still got some moisture issues. That you could have moisture issues.
Right.
The LVT is just there are fewer joints in the LVT. The LVT blocks, okay, it doesn't go down side by side. So it doesn't seep up. Plus, it's a whole lot easier to take care of. And
But if it leaks, if it's moisture there, isn't it gonna go to the walls and the moisture come through the walls?
well, the moisture issue, that's what the bone, looking at the vinyl tile that the Boone's Creek, the bone dry is supposed to take care of that, okay? All the moisture tests that are they're better moisture tests now, even though it's just been like 3 years, they're better moisture tests now than they used to be. All these slabs will be tested for moisture content, okay? And the glue, it's a different glue completely than what we used with the LVT, with the vinyl tile, okay? The LVT's got a different glue. Okay? And so we have put down a lot of LVT in the past 4 or 5 years. It's a more expensive product, and that's the reason a lot of schools, places didn't use it. Now, pretty much everything you put down is LVT because of the changes in the glue and whatnot, and some sealers. And it just looks better and lasts better.
So is it, have you fixed one part and it's fine, but it's coming up in other places now?
We don't have any additional. Well, let me rephrase. I know of one additional spot, okay? It's coming. They did have a couple of spots in some areas that was fixed.
So it did not
It did not.
fix
stuff
the
didn't-
problem when we did the
No,
first thing?
but they went back and they fixed it again last summer, and it's been okay. It's fine. But there are a couple additional spots, and that's what I was trying to get. Like I said, I was chasing the wrong dog, so I apologize for that, but I will get you the information. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay.
Oh, get his.
He needs his jump drive.
He needs his jump drive. You want your jump drive?
TCAT, Mr. Boyd?
Yeah, and you know, Dr. Hicks, the new president of the TCAT, everybody wants some of his time. So he was not able to be here tonight. But try to get him scheduled just to introduce you directly to him, to the board, and you to him. And then I can say, and I've forwarded information as I receive it, there is progress being made with the state of Tennessee on that site at the old Boones Creek Elementary School. Their people are, they've got architects involved, engineers. They're looking to, first phase is the newer part of that school to make it usable, maybe by the summer term of next year, of this next spring. But it will involve, the round part has definitely been determined that it needs to be removed. So they're going to use the new part of the school and are designing at phase 1 an entrance using the new part of the school, the rectangular part, and then they will have additional phases in the future. Currently, the amount of money has been shared, that's been allocated by the state of Tennessee for that project is at $19 million. So.
Have we washed our hands with the fire and everything now we're done?
Yeah, they've assumed that. And then in the last, board action in the last county commission, because of a legal counsel saying the board cannot gift property to an entity, but you can transfer it to another governmental entity within your local government. So, the board transferred that to the county, and then the county now does have the authority to gift it to the state of Tennessee, so then they would be owners. And that's part of the stipulation. They're not going to spend $19 million plus on that site unless they're the deed holders.
Was there any more said about if that ever does not become a school, will we retain that back, or will the county retain it?
And the county commission
State will own it.
They won't. State won't.
Okay.
And if you look at how long these TCAP centers have been, we hope that it's a very viable educational center for Washington County for adults and then our high school students for many, many, many decades. I don't know that that'll be as a factor.
Okay.
But the wheels are moving slowly, but they're moving forward. So, but I think Dr. Hicks, the new president, he's come in with some very clear directions from his boss at TBR, and one of those is to ensure that this project moves forward and gets done.
Well, I know it's the TCAT Elizabeth, and is this one going to be the TCAT of Boones Creek or what?
No, it's still,
It's
it'll
just
be,
the
I don't know what they'll call it, that'll be up to TBR. It could be the Washington County campus, TCAT Elizabethan.
Okay.
Because that's the actual institution that serves this region. But, that will be a TBR decision.
You got their phone number, we'll let Mary Beth call them.
Well, I was wondering, what are we going to do to distinguish one from the other?
I'll certainly get you the number of the chancellor and you can talk to him.
I can work on it.
But we have a lot, our state representatives have been very heavily involved in conversations, and senator, and of course, all the conversations happened well before I even came on the scene. There's been a lot of teamwork, and it's finally starting to see some progress. Any questions?
No, sir.
We want to move to the next item?
Sure.
We talked about the Jonesboro school update. Mr. Burleson shared that with us. The next items are just items that were not on the consent agenda for purchases and are on the agenda now for discussion and consideration. Item 8E is just the addition, the purchase and the installation of wall pads at the gyms at both high schools.
We have been without those for years and years and years, so what all of a sudden sparked?
Well, in these conversations through the walkthroughs, and there was questions about, I realize it may not have been there before, but there were questions about it should be there. So, you know, and then the athletic directors and our assessment is, my assessment and recommendation is that we should proceed.
So you'll make a motion?
I would love to make that motion, sir, to purchase the
Wall
pads for Daniel Boone and David Crockett High School for safety reasons.
You second that? Second.
Are we gonna, does auxiliary gym at Boone need any?
We have not assessed that, but it's a pretty tight space.
That's what I'm saying, that's the reason why
We
we
need
need
to get that, yes, sir.
I think we ought to put some in there.
Well, I mean,
We
we're
can
gonna do it.
we can get a separate cost and we move forward with the main gym and we can see what might need to be done in the auxiliary gym.
Vote?
Open.
I ain't got nothing. It's coming, honey.
There it is.
Got it. I'll approve.
Thank you. Next item is just for driver's education. The lease for the two of the cars is ending. One of the cars is this month, and the second car is in September. So, you know, the intent is, oh, did I skip the lawnmowers?
That's all right, we can go back.
Sorry.
I just didn't know if you.
No, I don't have any motivation of why I skipped that. Just kidding, I'm sorry.
You do
That's
that
why the chair should
sometimes.
lead
You
the
do that
discussion.
sometimes, Eric.
Yes, sir. I had this one on my mind. We had it, Dr. Adams had a call today just on this issue of just trying to get prices as late as today. But just if we could stay on this issue and we'll go back to the mowers. You know, the recommendation is we turn the cars back in and seek a new lease in new cars. And Dr. Adams is still trying to finalize costs. And he's here to answer any questions.
Can we check in maybe buying out those and getting rid of the two old ones and leasing two more?
That's what I was.
Because the two old ones, ain't they pretty old?
The other two that we actually purchased are, I believe, 2017s.
Okay, but didn't we lease two new ones, then
leased
we
two new
had
ones
two that we put back in?
2019. They're running out in 2022. So we have two that we bought, two Chevy Malibus. Maybe they're 2016s. Then we leased two new ones in 2019, and those leased ones are running out.
So the ones we own, they're 16 models,
I
right?
think they're 16s because we had those for 3 years.
Okay.
So what would be the purchase, what would it cost to go ahead and purchase the two
Well, the
newest
lease.
cars and get rid of the other two that's like what
The
you said,
16.
the 16s, and just
Still
rotate
least
it
two more.
Right.
and lease two more and just rotate it?
Can you check on that, Jared?
Yeah, Lynn Lloyd is the guy we work with at Champion Chevrolet. He was the gentleman who finally called me back today, and he's getting numbers for me, but he hasn't gotten to me yet. When he gets back and tells me lease numbers, I'll ask him what it would cost to buy out the current lease cars.
So you should already have that somewhere, probably.
It's probably on.
I think anytime you lease a
we get
car, they
monthly
give you a
bill, it's
guarantee.
Probably on there.
Buyout.
They give you a guaranteed buyout when you lease them, so I bet you got it. But anyway, sorry.
If there's no action tonight, we'll follow up and bring information back to you at the workshop with the intent to have a request final action on this September.
There's no really action we can make tonight, correct?
It doesn't appear that way, unless you want to make a broad motion, but we do have the reality, one lease for some reason staggered will expire this month, but I think we can work with the dealer and continue it throughout, so we can make one action in September. But we do need a total of 4 driver's ed cars. Okay, so now, I apologize, we will go back to item 8F, and that's the purchase of the mowers. You see the details there, as recommended by our groundskeeping staff.
I make a motion, we go ahead and purchase them.
Second.
No discussion?
Wait a minute.
I'd like to discuss it.
Okay.
But I mean, my argument is I'd like to hold off till fall when winter, and we start out in March with new mowers with the full warranty. We're buying mowers and they're gonna be sitting through the winter with running warranty, and they'll be, by the time we get back into the season, they'll be out of warranty. So that's why I said if we could hold off and start out with in March or whenever we start mowing, we start out with new mowers. And that's a practice that we probably ought to do.
I think Jerry was wanting to check with Logan on that though, wasn't he, as far as.
I think it's just about price. I mean, we don't have a guaranteed price, after this point. And it's just about price.
What about availability?
And probably that too.
I think that was the concern, those two things. I understand certainly the idea of the warranty.
Yeah, I agree with
Jerry.
Keith, but we may not be able to get them.
Dr. Adams got some.
Logan sent me an email earlier today to give me a little bit more information. 2007 SCAC that he wants to replace has no current warranty on it. That's 15 Kubota. Had a warranty of 5 years, 1,250 hours, and it's now out of warranty. So both those machines he's looking to replace are out of warranty. So if they break down tomorrow, we're on the hook to repair them at that point in time.
So,
what we're running into is, a lot of these mowers we're buying, they're running into their 5-year warranty and or their 1,200 or 1,500 hour warranty. Once you go over that, they're out of that warranty. So what he's trying to do is just keep them under warranty and try to get all the same brands so that we can start buying our own excess parts. And so if a machine breaks down, we're able to quickly repair those and put them back instead of having to wait for the Kubota guy or the SCAD guy to come out and work on stuff for us.
Mr. Riddle.
Is the warranty on these mowers the same? Is it 5 years, 1,250 hours, or what is the warranty period?
Each machine is a little bit different depending on the size of it. They all have warranties of 5 years, but the hours it fluctuates between 1,250 and 1,500.
So your warranty period, say if you were warranted for a year or two, you're still going to have the same amount of time sitting within that warranty period. I mean, you're going to sit all winter. You're still, if you start now, you sit winter and then you go from that point back to this point. So you're still going to sit the same amount of time during the warranty period as you would if you bought it now or if you bought it later.
And just one last piece of information as I'm reading through this. From what Logan's telling me, kind of like with our school buses, we will reach the hours of use before the 5-year period is up.
5 years.
So are we at the hours of use or very close?
On the two that he's wanting to replace right now, we're over the hours. They have no warranty at all. There's one that will end at the end of this school year coming up that he'll probably move to replace next year, this time next year. Looks like there might be 2 of those for next year.
Is there something wrong with them that he needs to get rid of them, or just flat out we just don't have a warranty?
It's mostly that they're A, older, and B, we don't have a warranty. And the way we run them,
How much longer you got mowing season?
probably through close to November. And then we'll start back up probably late February, early March.
I think it's an excellent argument. I wonder what, what does the warranty cover? Is it, because I mean, realistically, if it's bumper to bumper and the motor blows up, then you got some money on your hands. If it's a bent rim, then is it worth $10,000 today? I don't know.
Motors on them is one of and the clutches that's on is one of the main issues of what goes out on them. So, hydraulic motor is $500 for changing the motor.
But I guess if you're gonna buy them, you're gonna buy them.
That line item, that is, I mean, it's already been budgeted, right?
Yeah, it's in our operational budget.
Okay.
All right, let's vote. Good talk.
Passes 2 noes.
Who in the world?
I wonder who.
I could never imagine. You know, I thought.
You don't replace something if it's not broken.
Oh,
I mean, I understand when it's wore out, we trade it or sell it, but we run her.
Why not because she dies?
still buy new one.
Well, I tried.
Then I buy new.
No, I mean, I'd still buy new one. I got new trucks, old trucks.
If we could trade them in, it'd be a different story, but we can't trade them in.
Right. What we got, Mr. Boyd, policy?
Yes, just policies, just some adjustments continuing to be made from laws that were passed in the last legislative session. The addition of the student code of conduct in the law, there was some specific language around teachers' authority to take cell phones in their classroom if it's interfering with instructional time. So that was added to the student code of conduct. And the language is straight from, approved by TSBA and straight from the law. Withhold the student's phone if the duration of the instructional time, for the duration of the instructional time, if the teacher determines the student's phone is a distraction to the class or the student. That's just added to our code of conduct and disciplinary options.
Mr. Flainer?
Mr. Boyd, can we, these first two policies, can we bypass first reading, go ahead and go to second reading and be done?
You always have that option, yes, sir. The other one is just an addition, just to answer the policy 63041. The board has to appoint or approve an appointment of a Title IX.
And we did that back in the consent agenda.
And so this is just to update our policy to list the contact information in the policy to reflect that.
On 707, it's giving the teacher the option, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just aligned with the law.
Is this if there's someone that's a discipline problem, or are they going to blanket the whole class?
Well, I mean, the teacher's discretion if it's disrupting your classroom, and it's intended not to be. And unfortunately, sometimes those do turn into. It gets elevated, then it turns into a whole different disciplinary issue.
Right.
But really, its intent is by the legislative intent of the law, and then inserting it into policy to align with that was just to give the teachers the authority if they, because there's been a lot of push up back. Our guidance is certainly if it's not disruptive, and I think our teachers will focus on instruction and not the device.
And I understand that, but God forbid, I don't want to go out there, but if we're in a situation, there has been students that have guided law enforcement in shootings, they're able to let their parents know where they're at, if they're okay. So I wouldn't want to get into a blanket policy.
It's not automatic. I think the key word's there if it's disruptive to the instructional environment, whether it's disrupting the whole class, or if the student just is, they're off task. And I don't think, hopefully, and that's where procedures and practices come in. If there is an event, that student will know that where that phone's located, and in an event like that, them going straight and getting the phone would just be a natural response.
So I want to touch on what you just said. If we do have some teachers that have like the calculator pouches and they have to turn in their phones for the, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, some have been doing that.
And that's okay because it doesn't that doesn't.
Just our legislative body felt the need to make a law that a lot of our teachers were already doing.
I just want to make sure that they're in an eyesight, so that somebody's not taking somebody else's.
Well, and then there is always a concern as a parent, and then the student, and also the teacher. That device is not cheap.
No.
So we'll make sure it's visible and there's some accountability there as far as everyone, I mean, the student knows where it is, the teacher knows where it is.
Just on liability.
And it's protected.
Yes.
And safe and accessible if it needs to be accessible.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you'd entertain, I'd like to pass on, bypass first reading on 6300, 630141, and go to second reading, and also for 3.2002, pass it on second and final.
Second, Mr. Masters. Any more discussion? Being none, let's vote.
Tobin,
So good.
all approved.
Thank you.
Thanks for going great.
It's because you went to the workshop.
Evidently. Y'all got out of hand.
You got some questions over there.
Bless you. Next item is the naming of the new Jonesboro Pre-K elementary school, and previous policy has been adjusted to allow the board to name the school.
I make a motion, we name Jonesboro Elementary. Home of the Tigers.
Home of the Tigers, okay.
It has to say Home of the Tigers.
No, that's just.
That was in your motion.
No.
She was just, you know, she had a feeling.
I was embellishing on it.
Yeah. Okay, who seconded that?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Are the rest of our schools are elementaries once we've turned them into, but they're not, because it's like, we're not calling them K-8s, we're calling them Boones Creek Elementary.
Right.
We didn't call it Boones
That's
Creek
their official name.
K-8s. Okay, perfect.
All right, let's vote on that.
This is crazy. We're voting on this.
All approved.
Next item is a revision to the previously approved capital projects plan. It was approved by the board, taken to the commission. They did not approve it because there were some questions about items. Mr. Hill and I did find some numbers that needed to be adjusted to address the questions of the commission. Mr. Hill's provided a list of those revisions, and that makes our capital plan align with all the other plans we have now. And, it will be, if approved, it is on the Hugh Committee agenda for tomorrow for their consideration to run it back through the Budget Committee to the full commission for consideration again and hopefully approved.
All right, any discussion?
I have a question. So the replacement of the basketball goals at both high schools, does that include the additional motorized?
It was a complete replacement of all of that.
Okay, well, at one point, they were like, you know, they said, we don't do this, we don't put in that motorized.
And Crockett was a little more expensive because of the ceiling, the
Right.
design. But yes, they've both been installed and adjusted in operation.
Thanks.
Mr. Carter.
I think, don't we need to bring this 5-year capital plan up to date with what we just received right here?
I think we will be doing that, and what needs, you know, and certainly the commission has even stated this, and the budget committee members, you know, this is a working plan. So as we have, this is what we had put in place, but we will have to revisit as the board has conversations, and then they also have conversations with community members on some of the very big items of discussion. But for example, the safety issues, yeah, I believe we're going to have to then. We did put money in anticipation of this that is reflected in this 5-year plan, both this current fiscal year and next fiscal year, specifically for security updates. But large construction costs like constructing security vegetables will not be covered by that amount. So to answer your question in a shorter way, yes, sir.
Let's vote.
All agreed.
Next item, this item is just follow-up from the last commission meeting. There was action by the board in relation to the Boones Creek athletic facilities, sent through the queue and the budget committee to the full commission, but they did not take action on the interlocal agreement between the board and Washington County for the management and use of that property, those facilities. So just awareness.
Is that something that we need to stick to? I mean, is that something, I mean, the way they talked, they didn't want an interlocal agreement. Is that something that we want though? I mean.
Well, I think it just needs to be clearly defined about how the school will use the facilities and if there will be priority access for student and the student events and activities on those fields.
And
it's not clear.
Forgive me because I didn't. I missed that. So, did I understand correctly? Can you fill me in just a little bit?
Yes, sir. In a very quick summary,
Yes.
That's funny, but they indicated, and what I heard was, an interlocal agreement was not necessary because they believed there would be a rental agreement by the county to the board to use those facilities. And they thought that would address any of the terms. But not completely, because the board's action was, to provide through funds available to the board, which they did not agree with either, using capital funds. They seemed to indicate they believe the board should use fund balance. So they indicated, that they didn't agree with that action, but they moved on to approve using that money anyway, $1 million. And then the board also asked that there'd be clear terms about how the facility would be used and managed, and that the board and our grounds team would be responsible for the upkeep and management of the facility. So that was kind of pushed aside. And then there was a 40-year agreement for a nominal amount of $1 a year to rent the facility, as a matter of formal action.
So they took the $1 million, but they didn't agree to give us the fields, or they didn't agree to finish the fields.
There was an agreement that the work would proceed, and they were going to put the bids out to see what they could get done with the $2.3 or so million that they have budgeted, and the additional $1 million that the board authorized are, even though there was a statement that it was county government's money and really didn't need the board's permission to use that money.
So
$1 million?
I guess, yeah, they took your $1 million. So what I'm getting at is, why would you even volunteer to take care of them at all?
No.
Well, there seems to be and all the arrangements that were made prior to this point.
Town of Jonesboro.
Jonesboro has some agreement to take care of the facility for some fee. And, that may be part of the discussion ongoing. But, anyway, the bottom line was they're going to move forward with the project with the additional $1 million from the educational capital funds to extend the amount available to over $3 million. They're going to bid it out and see what they can complete with that amount of money. The intent is to complete, with the buildings and the sidewalks and the fences and the turf was discussed, the athletic turf infields. But no one seemed to be confident that the 3.3 million is going to complete all of that work.
So, but we can't, without that interlocal agreement, what I understand from the way Scott approached it, we can't put any money to it. That capital project money was theirs to allocate however, even though it was designated to us, they didn't need our permission to take it. Because it's their money, and they approved it. But for us to take anything out of our fund balance, or for us to put any more money into that interlocal agreement that he sent us has to be signed.
Right.
I'd let them finish it.
So, yeah, they need to. They're the ones who sat there and said, we're gonna build these fields. We don't wanna give money to Johnson City. You can have this little piece of land up here with your school on it, and that's it. So they're responsible for it, and they need to finish it.
Well, it was brought to my attention too that in that agreement for the maintenance and upkeep of the athletic facility, it was for the entire piece of property. So in that agreement, it appears that town of Jonesboro would also be responsible for mowing the school property.
How did they get thrown in the mix?
Oh, I'm learning all this, and, you know, it's becoming more clear to me, but the bottom line is.
Up the door and they're just getting in there and getting them on.
They're going, I mean, I will say, in good faith, the intent and the agreement, even if there were disagreement, is to finish the project. And that it would be accessible to the students of Boone Creek Elementary School. It's just that right now, there's no clear written agreement, whether a rental agreement or an interlocal agreement between the two governing bodies, the two, of the county and of the board. There's just no written agreement.
Well, if there's not a written agreement, we will always get the short end of the stick. So I really think we need to push for a written agreement.
Well, no, if you just leave it alone and let them deal with it, you don't get,
I'm just saying, if we want a place for our kids, we're going to stand up for it.
I think it's sincere that the project will be completed and the students will be able to use the property. It's just, we have to work out what that looks like.
So right now, it's 3.2 million. It's allocated for it.
In that, close to that now, yes.
Okay.
I tell you what scares me about it is that the price is gonna come back in about $6 million. Are they gonna go and get it out of the capital projects money?
Possibility.
Or are they gonna look at it and say, no, we can't do that, that's for the schools, that we've got other plans that we need to do? I understand we got to have a ball field out there for Boone's Creek, but this board has sat here and talked about redoing the stands and the stadiums at the two high schools, and that's gonna be a major expense. So,
it's been on your 5-year plan.
I don't wanna sit here and, I think they
For 8 years.
shouldn't be able to do that, to be honest about it, because that's for all the schools, not just Boone's Creek. And I hate to know that I was gonna spend $5, $6, $7 million on a complex out there that's capital projects money that's gonna go for the schools, and, we're only benefiting one school. So,
Remember it, you vote Thursday. Okay, WCEA, we're ready for them, Mr. Boyd?
Yes, sir.
Whitney, do you have something? Go ahead, I'm sorry. She don't mind, she can, she'll dance in a minute, you'll give her time.
Quickly, I'll just say, the thing I found disheartening, I attended the commission meeting, is, we went there with good intent to help solve a problem and work together to bridge the problem. And we kind of got kicked to the curb a little bit in that whole process. We went with sincere effort to do good things. And it's not the whole commission.
That's what
it's a small portion of the commission. I'll not name the commissioners, but there's some that basically spit in the face in the whole thing. It's their money, they can do with what they want. I get that. But still, we've got all these projects they got to fund with it anyway. But still, we've gone a couple of years trying to really make strides in getting along better. And that was very disheartening. If you'd attended that meeting, you'd understand. It was a head scratcher. And it's not the whole commission, it's just a small percentage of it.
So do you think we should have tried going in earlier to try to work? Or
We
what?
did.
No, I mean, like maybe a couple of years ago. I don't know. That wasn't something.
Well,
that was
and I might know a little bit more than that. I just want to hear it. But what Whitney's saying is we've tried so hard, at least 4 years I've been on here, and I've been the one to preach it because I know when I first got on the board it wasn't a thing, but we have tried super hard to get along with the commission and support the commission and work well with the commission and take everything that they wanted, and that's what we did. And basically, all they was doing is flexing their muscles and showing you, they'll show you what they can do. And Keith said it a million times, and it is very disappointing. And I think as you move forward, you need to pay a little more attention. I mean, still I respect the relationship and their authority, but at the same time, they've showed you how they can act. So
It was set up, it was theirs, we had nothing to do with it, and they're the ones, not us, that's drug their feet for the past 5 years because they've not got it built.
yeah.
And a few commissioners did say
Yeah.
that, you know, and
Yeah, they said
that's where I go back with
something.
what Whitney said, you know, it ain't the whole commission, you know, but,
It's not the majority.
No.
There's some outliers in the commission that, like you said, that flex their muscle on this whole thing. So
Yeah.
it's quite disheartening
Yeah.
to sit there and watch.
And
it.
they disrespect us, my opinion, they disrespect us because this board has worked hard to come up with a good fund balance, that we see projects out there that we need to work on, and we have a fund balance to do it with, and I've never seen a group of commissioners be, I don't know what the word is. If I was a city commissioner and I had a school board that had money, I'd be tickled to death. That was the only way we give our teachers a raise, what they got this year. That was the only way. If we'd went and asked them for money, they'd have said no way, because they'd have had to share with Johnson City. And we're using our money wisely to do this with. So,
I agree. Okay. Bring it.
ain't that right?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Danielle Mitchell, and I am part of the leadership for the Washington County Education Association. I bet you know that by now.
Who are you?
That's right, that's right. But I just want to say a quick note here at the very beginning of the school year. Today was our first full day of school. I felt like I would say I speak for the majority of teachers when I say I felt like I ran a race today. Adjusting to a new schedule and greeting new faces. But I do have to say, at the end of the day, I always walk away and think what a privilege it is to be just a small part of the lives of these little people for a little window. Right, but anyway, I just wanted to say that the new teacher, or the in-service that we have, the first day back, it's always energizing to be in a room full of teachers. I know many of you have full-time jobs or jobs that require you to be places and you can't adjust your schedules. But I do appreciate those of you who are able to come and join with us for a little bit. It's nice to see your faces there, and like I said, I understand for those of you that are not available, but it's always energizing to be in a room full of teachers. And I love the addition of our students and their families as part of the opening day kinds of things, seeing what was going on at summer school, and the United Way. I'm telling you, I get a little bit like I was a little bit emotional watching these little people in their caps and gowns, thinking about what all our community does to put into that through the United Way, and what we do to invest in our students here in Washington County through the board as well. But I just wanted to say that was a great experience. A wonderful first day of school. I might go home and collapse and do it again tomorrow, right? But it was a great first day back. I also wanted to say, while I had just a minute, I appreciate the time and commitment that our board members put in. I know we have a couple that are saying farewell to their time of service here on the board, but I do appreciate your diligence, your time, your commitment to the students of Washington County. I know that some of you are remaining with us, and I appreciate. I think I speak for our teachers when I say I appreciate your commitment to the students of Washington County, but I also wanted to say specifically to those who are finishing their service with us. For now, you can always come back and do it again, right? You can always come back and do it again, but I do want to say thank you. And of course, Mr. Meredith could be with us, but thank you for your service, okay? You all have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, kids, this is my last one, so I'm out. But I appreciate you all, and I think each one of you is friends. And I think you got a good thing going. You got a great director, great staff, and I think you're going to do great things.
Are you going to tear up?
No.
He don't, he likes us, but he don't like us.
That's what I thought.
I just want to say thank you for you and Mr. Meredith. I didn't know either one of us 4 years ago. One's now partnered, but I mean, I think of both of us as friends. And y'all done a great job of being together on this board, working together with everybody, and it's just been a real thing to serve with y'all for 4 years, and appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You'll be missed.
It's been good. Well, thank
Wish
you.
you well, Jason.
Thank you.
This board has accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
Well, good.
I'll
Thank you.
piggyback on that. I'd just like to say thank you for Mr. Meredith. He's been a great board member. Everybody on here's been wonderful. Mason's out here. Jason's been a great leader in the past 2 years.
Thank you.
Stay active in the schools with us.
I will. I will. All right. Meeting adjourned.
You didn't break the record.